Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GL365.com. Got a great one for you today. We're going to do Ghost Cirice, and we're going to do the whole thing, note for note. But before we get into that, please subscribe to the channel, and if you want to catch all my latest videos, please ring that little notification bell too, so you'll get all the notifications of the latest lessons and stuff. And before we get into the song, you're going to have to retune your guitar probably, because they use the tuning D standard for this song. So now D standard is not drop D. It doesn't mean you just tune down the low E string to D. D standard means you tune every string on the guitar down a whole step. Now those notes will be in the description for you, but it's basically just going to be a D for the low E string, then a G, a C, an F, an A, and another D. All right, so as soon as you get in that tuning, you'll be able to follow along and play along with the actual original album recording. So let's start here with this. It's on acoustic, of course, but I'm playing on electric because I don't really like the logistics of changing guitars in a video, so I'm just going to make it easy on me. So we're just going to kick in with this little clean tone here. Pretty spooky riff. All right, so start with the low E string open. I'm going to call it the E string, even though it's not an E anymore, but just so I'm not driving my brain crazy trying to figure out, I'm just going to keep it as if it's a standard tune guitar, but we obviously know we're down a whole step. Low E open, then the second fret on the D, and then the open B string. Back to that second fret on the D, and then to the third fret on the G string. So you can actually go ahead and hold those two notes and just do this. Time. Then, I mean, you can use these two fingers if you want. It's comfortable for me to play like this. Then you're going to go to the fourth fret on the D string, then the open G, back to that fourth on the D, down to the third on the D. So with this. So we have this. All right, and then the ending of it's pretty easy. 3, 2, 1 on the A string, and then 2, 1, 0 on the low E. And then you start that. When you get to that 0, it starts the riff over. All right, so we have, towards the end of this riff, we have obviously two guitarists here. One continues to play this with this ending. So that's the same riff we just did. Until that third fret on the D, and then it's just, now it's 0, 1, 2 on the A string. Then you're going to hit that A again. Now, that's the very last time you play it, and then they start the riff over again with some distortion. But there is a higher part that's played with that. So instead of this, we have this. Now you're going to hear this, just played quite a bit through the track. So that's the 9th fret on the D to the 12th on the G, back to 9 on the D, and then 11 on the G. Then go 10, 9, 8, 7 on the D string. And then while the other guitar part did this 0, 1, 2 on the A, you're going to go 0, 1, 2 on the D string, and then resolve it back down to the 1. So kind of those two parts together is like. So that note stayed there. And then they just basically played this exact same riff again. They're both doing that same thing. But they kind of diverge there at the very end to do the little harmony part. All right, now we have the same part just played with some distortion, and then we get to which is basically a different version of that riff, and it sounds like this. By the way, leading into this part, and pretty much every little, going from one section to the next to repeat, they do it 1-0 off the low E string, either the single note or the power chord. All right, now this riff, once again, is the same. Both guitars doing the same thing until the very end, where they'll kind of go into separate parts. So it's just. So that's sliding into the 7th fret on the A, over to 9 on the D, back to the 7, to the 8 on the D now. Then go over to the 9th fret on the A string, pick it, then slide it up to 10, and then go 9, 8. And then go 8, 7, 6 on the low E. Just single notes. Then we're going to go take it back here and do some power chords at the 2nd fret off the low E, then the 1st fret, and then to the open chords with it. So you continue that, but the last time through, you're going to hear this on the bottom guitar part. So that's just stop there and go to that open A 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2. Sorry. Then hit the 2 again, and the top guitar will go play this. Just like we did in the intro. The acoustic part resolves down to 1. And then we get to the main riff of the song, which is also the verse. It's a lot of fun to play. It sounds like this. All right, now what I was doing there was I was kind of going back and forth between both guitar parts. When you see me do the octaves, that's actually a harmony part, and I can only play one at a time. But those are actually supposed to be played together. So let me explain. So we start with this. So the open E power chord, a couple of hits there, and then 7 on the A, 6 on the low E, back to the E power chord. And then you hit a couple of muted E strings into the power chord off the 8th fret of the A string. Let's play this. A couple more muted E's, and then we're gonna have this. Sorry, the octaves. Now this top octave shape, one guitarist will play this. Octave off the 8th fret of the low E string. So 8th fret there and the 10th fret there on the D. To 7, to 6. So we hear this. And it's gonna end that riff. A couple more hits and then the power chord at the 1st fret, back to the low E. So that's what one guitarist does. The other guitarist does the exact same thing, except when his octaves come up, instead of going 8, 7, 6, you're going to do 4, 3, 2. So that's going to go with those 8, 7, 6. It's a very dissonant sound. So that's the octave off the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then to the power chord to end it again. 1, 0. Top part. So as you can see, you gotta have 2 guitar players to make that sound exactly like it. If you only have 1 guitarist, probably play the top one because it's a little bit more prominent in the mix. But you can definitely hear that lower octave part going with that as well. So you're gonna want to check that out. So that's the verse section. That's probably the main riff of the song. And now we get to the bridge section. Now the first time you really hear this is at the 3-minute and 30-second mark, and it sounds like this. All right, so that's the cool part. So we start with the low E real quick to the open A. And you hit that A, that you can let the note start ringing there. So that low E is muted. And you hit the A a couple times. You start this melody. It's 15, 14 on the A string. And then hit the open A again, and then go 15, 12. Then open A again, back to 15, 14. Try this. Now we go to the open A again, to the 5th fret on the D string and pull off to the open. Pull off to the open D. Try this. Then you're going to grab really just this power chord shape off the kind of G power chord shape, the 3rd fret of the low E. So you're going to pick the 3rd fret on the low E, then 5th on the A, and 5th on the D, and then slide that up to the 7th fret. You're just kind of arpeggiating them, kind of palm muted across. So like this. Start over. So when you start over, you're gonna basically do it the same way the first time. 2 open A's to 15, 14 on the A string. Then you hit the open A, and then we're gonna change it up top. So that's just the 12th fret of the open A, and you're gonna play the 12th fret on the D and the G. Then move that G note down to the 11th fret on the G, still holding the 12th on the D, and then a 10th fret across the D and the G. And you're going to end that riff with the 1st fret power chord there, played a few times, really heavily muted. Then back to the open E, and you start over. All right, now as they continue to play that, the solo comes in over that. So let me play through the solo real quick for you. It's really cool, and then I'll break it down for you phrase by phrase. All right, some fun stuff there. So what is going on? Let's start with this first lick here that has, you're gonna start with the neck pickup on. So that's the 14th fret on the D and then the G. Then you get to the B string and do a half step bend and release at the 12th fret. Then play the 12th on the G and the D. And then the 14th fret, you can just slide into that 14th fret on the G. So we have this. One more time. Then the next phrase. So that starts at the 14th fret on the D. I'm sorry, 15th fret on the D. To 14 on the G string. Then it's a half step bend and release. You're going to want to use your ring finger here. Half step bend and release at the 17th fret on the high E string. The B string. Then you can kind of separate these notes because that's how he plays them. So it's a kind of a bend and release, and then play 17 on the G, then the D. You see the fingerings I'm using there. Then back to the 17 on the G. Then move this up to the 19th fret on the G, to 17 on the B, and then a whole step bend at the 20th fret. So far we have this. All right, from here we're going to slide into the 17th fret on the B string, and then roll the finger over to the 17th on the high E, half step bend and release again at the 19th fret on the high E string, and then come back here to the 15th fret and play 15 on the high E to 15 on the B. And then half step bend at the 19th fret on the B string, and release that bend, and then a unison bend, and that's holding this 12th fret there on the high E string and the 15th fret on the B, and you're going to bend up the B string a whole step. So far we have this. All right, now you click it down to the bridge pickup, and we have this first phrase. All right, so that is going to start at the 7th fret. So now that's just kind of how he starts it, and you watch him play it live. He starts it down the 7th instead of going. You just start it here at the. But either way, it really doesn't really matter. But it's 7th fret here on the, it's going to palm muted too. 7th on the D, then shift up to the 10th fret, then play 12, 10 on the A. Back to 12 on the A, over to 10 on the D, kind of bend and release at the 12th, pull off the 10, then play 12, 10 again, over to 12 on the A. All right, and now we have kind of a more spread out lick, and it sounds like this. I'll stop there because there's a little melody off that note. So really heavily palm muted, you're going to play 8, 10, 12 on the A. Then you're going to play that again, and then shift up to the 14th fret there with your pinky, so with this. Then you're just going to play 10, 12, 14 on the A. So with this. You're going to go over now and play the 10th fret there on the D string, and then there's a quick little legato lick off this note. So what's going on? He picks that 10, then comes right back down to the A string and does a quick legato lick. That's going, picking 14, pull off the 12, pull off the 10, hammer back to 12 and 14. And then come over to the 10th fret on the D. You're going to hammer 12 on the D, hammer 14, and pull back off the 12 and stop there. So a little tricky coming out of. All right, so as soon as you resolve on that note, there's another quick legato note to get up to the top note. And that's playing, so it's a little bit easier, just hammering 12, 10, 14, and then 11, 12, 14 on the G. So 12, 10, 14 on the D, 11, 12, 14 on the G, and you make it up to this top note here at the 17th fret on the G string. All right, from that note we have this. So that's 17, and then a quick 16, hammer to 17, pull back off to 16, pull to 14, down to 12. Then a bend there at the 15th fret on the B, and then played 14 on the G, and then slide into the 17th fret on the high E string, over to 17 on the B. And then we had that cool little ending lick, which is actually a harmony lick. We're just going to do the top line that he would do live. And that's 17, 16 on the, you're going to want to play this with your pinky and your third finger. 17, 16 on the high E string. And then you're going to play 17, 13 on the B with your pinky and index. Then 16, 14, 13 on the G. And just do a lot of bend and release, half step bend and release there at the 13th on that last note. All right, then we get back to, well, there's a little keyboard solo, and underneath that is really just the main riff, but it's just played slightly differently at the very end. This time through, it's like. All right, so I kind of cut it in half there. So you're going to start with the same riff. And the two octaves, one going here and one at the 4, 3, 2. So it's the same as just the regular riff. Second time through, it's the same riff up to there, then both guitars come back here and play 3, 2, 1 octaves. And then go back, straight back to that chord, so without doing that. So it goes. And then it's back to the normal octaves to end it. All right, so it's kind of weird. All right, so hopefully you'll be able to piece that together. It's just the one in the middle, you're going 3, 2, 1 with the octaves, both guitars together, and there's no harmony. But other than that, the riff is the same, except we do skip that first half of it. But if you know the song, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about there. All right, now we get to the ending, which goes back to that bridge riff. So they keep repeating that. There's a little pick slide down in there and stuff. It's just kind of extra stuff. But the very end's what's important there. So the last time you play it, instead of going, they do this. So that's kind of an extension of what they was really doing earlier in the song. It's just that 12th fret across the D and the G gain, and bring that G string down to 11. And basically you do the same thing now from the 10th fret. The two 10s, and you're gonna basically move the 10 on the G string down to 9 while still holding the 10 on the D. Hit that a couple times, hold it, and then just move that shape down 2 frets to the 7 and the 8. And then end it with the low E, obviously the low D string. All right, so that kind of takes care of all of it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a fun song to play. Hopefully you have a guitar buddy that you can play all those harmony parts with. and make it sound as close to the album as possible. I'll see you guys again soon. Bye-bye.